Hey guys, how are you guys doing? 안녕하십니까? 잘 지냈습니까? I hope you guys are fine and I hope you had a happy 한글날. So every year on 9th of October is 한글날 and I thought to take this opportunity to answer my most asked question. How did you learn Korean? Like every time I go to my comment section, to my Instagram, everyone is asking me how I learned Korean. So before I start the video, I have a few disclaimers. Number one, I went to a language school. I understand that most people who are subscribed to this channel probably don't have the chance to go to a language school. And number two, I've been living in Korea for a long time. With that in mind, I understand that you probably might not have the opportunities that I had, but I am sure that there are a few things that you can learn from my experience studying Korean. I came to Korea on 26th of February 2012 as a KGSP scholar, Korean Government Scholarship Program, but these days they call it GKS, a Global Korean Scholarship. If you come to Korea as a Global Korea Scholar, you have to study 1 year of Korean language and then you can proceed to study your undergraduate for 4 years. So the total duration of the program is 5 years. I went to Gyeonggi-dae Ohaktang, that's Gyeonggi University, language school for my Korean studies for 1 year. It was just amazing. And then I went to Seoul National University for my undergraduate program, which was 4 years. In order for me to go to my undergraduate studies, I had to get a TOPIK level 3, that is test of proficiency in Korean. But as you read from the title of the video, I managed to get a TOPIK level 5 under 1 year. And before I came to Korea, some people know how to speak basic Korean. I didn't know anything except a rough overview of Hangul and 안녕하세요. That's the only word I knew. My first piece of advice to people who are learning Korean is use Korean to learn Korean. This means your textbooks or your sources should have as little English as possible or the language that you're comfortable with. The problem with romanizations is it makes really hard for you to memorize the words. For example, the station close to my place is called 장승배기역. Let me write it for you. Begi station. So it's this, 장승배기. Like, it doesn't make any sense if I would try to memorize this as 장승배기. But then, if I was to write it in Hangul, and if you've watched my channel, you know the meaning of 장승. 장승 is a top 10 pole. So it kind of gives you a rough idea if you know 장승 배기 and if you say the words in Korean. So my second piece of advice, especially for beginners, is just memorize whole phrases or sentences without getting bogged down or without worrying about the meaning or the grammatical compositions. For example, when you start learning Korean, the most basic conversation is your introduction. 안녕하세요. 저는 트레버라고 합니다. 케냐에서 왔습니다. 만나서 반갑습니다. This is the most basic conversation, and if you try to decipher what it means one by one, 안녕하세요. 저는 트레버라고 합니다. Like, what does that mean? Like, what's the grammatical meaning of 라고 합니다? It becomes really hard. So for beginners, try memorizing whole sentences and phrases, and as you advance, you can try to look into their grammar. And you'll realize that after staying in Korean for a long time, most of the grammar that you learn is actually not even used in daily conversations. So for example, there was this grammar that I learned. It's like 들리는 바에 따르면, like according to what was said or according to what I had. Like, I went to my Korean friend, I was like 들리는 바에 따르면, and she just started laughing because such phrases are not normally used, or such pieces of grammar are not normally used in daily conversations. Number 3, and this is really important and most people are not given this piece of advice, is learn basic Hanja. You know, some words, a lot of words actually came from the Chinese characters. And by learning Hanja, you don't need to know how to write the Chinese characters, but you just learn the basic composition of Hanja. So there's something called like Hanja for Korean learners. And there's a book I used to use when I was in language school. This book, 한국 어휘 교수 학습 한자어 어원을 통하여. So like you're learning the basic composition of Hangul using Hanja. And it's not as hard as it sounds. For example, let me give you an example from this book. So you have a word like saram. In Hanja, it's in. Saram. Oh, my Lil is so bad. Anyway, saram. So it means a person. But then in Hanja, the Hanja character for saram is in. And so the good thing is, if you know what in means, then some things will start making sense. So for example, if you hear the word inseng, this inseng, it's something related to a human being, something related to life. Number 4 is you have to have a goal, and apart from having a goal, you have to have a consequence and an incentive in order for you to achieve that goal. For me, I had to have TOPIK level 3 before I could start my undergraduate studies. And if I wouldn't achieve TOPIK level 3 in 1 year, then I had to pay for the last semester. For example, if I study for 6 more months, then the last semester of my studies in undergraduate, then I had to pay the fee and the dorm fee on my own, which is really expensive. When I was in language school, the teacher would come and ask us like, what's your goal? Like, what's your TOPIK goal? Then I told my teacher that my TOPIK goal was level 5, and she just literally laughed it off. She said like it's impossible. And I worked really hard to prove her wrong. Apart from just working hard to prove her wrong, I had another motivation, which was, if you achieve TOPIK level 5, you would get an extra $100, roughly $100 on your stipend. That's like an extra $1,200 for nothing, like for the rest of your 4 years in Korea. After getting the TOPIK level 5, we started calling her Mrs. Impossible. I'm not kidding. I know it's really hard for self-taught students, but you can be like, if I achieve TOPIK level 3 in 1 year, then I'm going to buy myself this present. Or if I don't achieve TOPIK level 3 in 1 year, then I'm going to, for example, give $100 to your friend and tell your friend. Number 5, practicing is really important. And in order for you to practice, you have to step out of your comfort zone. And number 2 is you have to, don't be afraid of making mistakes. I know people say this all the time. For example, when I was in language school and we were in the beginners class, my friend called Steve, he wanted to go to the toilet. True story. And he didn't know what to say. So he went to the teacher and he was like, 선생님, 화장실 주세요. So, which is really funny anytime I think about it. So 화장실 주세요 means like, give me the toilet. When I came to Korean, because I didn't know any Korean, I joined an English church. But then after knowing some Korean, I went to like a small Korean church, and no one in that church could speak English. I know most people will probably not have this opportunity to like practice Korean with Koreans, but if you can, I don't know, use an app to talk with a Korean friend abroad, or just find an environment, find a kind of a club or organization where you can meet with other people to practice Korean, I highly encourage it. Step out of your comfort zone and make a lot of mistakes. It's fine. You're a foreigner. No one expects you to be perfect. Even for me, I've been living in Korea for almost a decade. I work in a Korean company. I make so many mistakes, and thank God I have like people who are patient enough and help to correct me. Number 6 is take your time. Some people are gifted in languages. Some people are not gifted in languages. Don't compare yourself. Don't compare yourself to me. Don't compare yourself to another person. Take your time, especially for self-taught students. So the last piece of advice is TOPIK is just an exam. Very few exams test for creativity. Most exams test for patterns. Like, can you recognize a certain pattern? You need more practice. Even after getting TOPIK 5 or TOPIK 6, you constantly need to continue studying Korean. Like, it's a lifelong mission. So anyway, these are the 7 pieces of advice that I had for you guys. I hope you just enjoy learning Korean, and if you have any questions on Korean, don't hesitate. You can ask me through Instagram or just by commenting on YouTube. And yeah, see you guys next time. Bye.